You see, the trouble with most of us is that we keep living as though the moment we're in is merely a stepping stone to something else. We race, we hustle, we grasp as though life is some distant prize just beyond the horizon. But in doing so, we forget that the very life we're running toward is already leaning toward us, patiently waiting for us to slow down enough to meet it. Imagine for a moment a life where every comfort, every beauty, every richness you've ever dreamed of is not something you must desperately chase, but something that is already making its way to you. It moves quietly, without urgency, but with certainty, like the tide toward the shore. The luxuries you long for, be they fine surroundings, serene mornings, the freedom to choose your own pace, are not indifferent to your desire. They are drawn toward it, as if magnetized by the very thought of you. You may believe you must toil endlessly to be worthy of them, but that is only because you have been taught to see the world as a transaction. In truth, it is more like a dance. The moment you stop lunging forward in desperation, the music changes, and life itself begins to step toward you. And that is what we saw when we saw the moving waters. To relax is not to give up. It is to trust. Trust that the great tapestry of your life is weaving itself with threads you cannot see. Every luxury you have ever imagined, the deep leather armchair in a quiet study, the golden light spilling through wide windows, the meals prepared with care and love, the journeys to distant places, exists already in the mind of life itself. And it is not reluctant to give them to you. The only hesitation is yours. Consider the river. It does not strain to reach the sea. It flows effortlessly, winding and bending where it must, sometimes slowing, sometimes rushing, but never doubting that the sea is there. If you could live like this, trusting the natural pull toward your desires, you would find that all those things you thought were far away would begin to appear in your path. There is no strain in receiving what is already meant for you, only an opening. When you stop measuring how far you have to go and start living in the ease of this very breath, you'll realize the life you yearn for is not a distant reality, but an inevitable meeting. All the gold, all the comfort, all the quiet mornings and joyful nights, they have been pacing at the edges of your life, waiting for the door to open. They have been looking for you as much as you have been looking for them. It is in the exhale, not the grasp, that you create the space for them to enter. Life with every luxury is not waiting for you to prove yourself. It is waiting for you to be still enough to see it arriving. And the moment you do, the anxiousness will dissolve, for you will know that it has been yours all along. Most people have been conditioned to believe that life is a constant chase, a relentless pursuit of something that is always just out of reach. We are told from an early age that if we work hard enough, if we sacrifice enough, if we fight enough, then perhaps one day we might touch the things we desire. But this very way of thinking blinds us to a deeper truth. Much of what we yearn for is already on its way to us. It is not the chase that brings it closer, but the pause, the openness, the quiet confidence that allows it to arrive. When you are running, eyes fixed on some imagined point in the distance, you do not see what is approaching from the sides, from behind, from unexpected angles. In chasing, you create a kind of tunnel vision where the only thing you see is the gap between where you are and where you think you should be. But life does not work in a straight line. It weaves, it circles, it doubles back, and it often arrives from directions we never imagined. The act of slowing down, of softening your grip on what you think you must control, makes space for life to approach you in its own way. Imagine the person standing at the edge of the ocean, desperate for the waves to come faster. They shout at the water, they motion with their hands, they plead for the tide to hurry. But the tide moves with its own rhythm, untouched by the urgency of one impatient voice. And yet when that person sits down, breathes, and simply waits, the water still comes. It always comes, not because of their effort, but because it is in the very nature of the tide to reach the shore. The luxuries and comforts you dream of have their own tide. They are not ignoring you, nor are they lost. They are coming closer with each passing moment, pulled by the invisible currents of your intentions, your beliefs, and the quiet longing you carry in your heart. But here is the strange thing. When you strain and reach and force, you push against that current. You create resistance without realizing it. The anxious energy sends a message that you do not trust the very thing you desire to find its way to you. And life, sensing that lack of trust, waits. To stop chasing is not to stop moving, it is to move differently. To walk through your days as though the very thing you want most has already recognized you, already chosen you, and is already making its way toward you. This is not about giving up, it is about aligning yourself with the flow of arrival. When you believe that what you desire is inevitable, your energy shifts. You stand taller, breathe deeper, and move with a calm that feels magnetic. People sense it, opportunities sense it, life itself senses it. Think of how animals in the wild are drawn to stillness. A bird will not land on a branch that shakes violently, but it will rest on one that is steady and unmoving. The same is true for the blessings of life. They are drawn to the steadiness of your spirit, not the frantic grasp of your hands. Luxuries are not shy, but they prefer a quiet welcome over a desperate invitation. This is why, when you stop running toward what you want, you often find it begins running toward you. The universe has a peculiar way of closing the gap when you release the tension that holds it open. The person who stops obsessing over finding love suddenly meets someone extraordinary. The one who stops clinging to the idea of wealth begins to notice opportunities they had been blind to before. It is not magic. It is the removal of noise. The constant noise of grasping drowns out the signals life is sending you. Crushing it out, the life that has been waiting outside your life. You must begin to see yourself not as the hunter of your desires, but as the lighthouse for them. The hunter runs endlessly, exhausting themselves, believing the only way to capture what they seek is to chase it down. But the lighthouse stands still, casting its light far and wide, trusting that what is meant to find it will be drawn by its glow. That is the shift that changes everything. You become the steady point toward which every good thing naturally turns. The truth is, chasing often comes from fear. Fear that if you stop, everything will slip away. Fear that you are not worthy unless you are constantly proving yourself. Fear that life is indifferent to you. But fear tightens the body, clouds the mind, and sends a vibration that says, I am not ready. Relaxation, on the other hand, is a signal of readiness. It says, I trust, I am open, I am prepared to receive. This is the invitation that life responds to most. Imagine yourself sitting on a quiet morning, sunlight spilling into your room, a warm cup of coffee in hand, and knowing, truly knowing, that the life you want is not a distant dream, but a guest already en route. How different would your days feel if you moved through them as though you were already in the process of welcoming that guest? You would no longer be scanning the horizon in desperation. You would be setting the table, fluffing the pillows, lighting the candles, not because you are forcing the arrival, but because you know it is near. And in this way you begin to live in the very energy of what you seek before it arrives. This is the great secret. Life moves more quickly toward those who are already living as though it has arrived. Just as a garden blooms more quickly when tended with care and joy rather than frustration and haste, your desired life flourishes when you nurture the present moment. The more you chase, the more you signal to life that it is not yet here. The more you relax into its inevitability, the faster it closes the space between you. When you let go of the desperate chase, you realize that the gap you thought was so wide was never as big as it seemed. Often the thing you were running toward has been standing quietly nearby all along, simply waiting for you to slow down enough to notice it. The life with every luxury you could ever imagine is not running away from you. It is following you, patiently, faithfully, waiting for you to stop long enough to turn around and see it walking toward you. There is a subtle but powerful difference between struggling for what you want and trusting that it will come. Struggle comes from the belief that nothing will happen unless you make it happen. It is born from the idea that the world is a closed fist and you must pry it open to receive anything good. But trust is entirely different. It is the quiet knowing that what is yours cannot miss you, and that life in its own timing and way is already arranging the circumstances that will bring it to your door. Trust does not mean idleness. It means moving with a different spirit, one that does not carry the heaviness of desperation. When you operate from struggle, everything feels like a battle. You wake up each day feeling as though you must climb a mountain just to get a glimpse of what you desire. You measure your worth by how much you can endure, how hard you can push, how much ground you can cover. But the irony is that this constant pushing can create more distance rather than less. When you approach life with the belief that nothing will come unless you fight for it, you are, in a way, telling life that you don't trust it to give you anything freely. And life responds accordingly. It will match your struggle with resistance, because that is the energy you are radiating. Trust works in the opposite way. When you trust, you are not blind to the effort required, but you understand that effort is not the same as strain. Effort can be gentle, intentional, and steady. It can be an act of joy rather than a burden. Trust allows you to step into each day knowing that the path will reveal itself as you walk it. You don't need to see the entire road. You only need to take the next step with faith. This changes the entire tone of your journey. You no longer feel like you are wrestling with life. You begin to feel as though you are in conversation with it. Each action you take, being met with a response. It is a lot like planting a seed. You do not dig it up every day to see if it is growing. You trust that it is. You water it, give it sunlight, tend to the soil, but you do not rush it. You know that the growth is happening, even if you cannot see it yet. You understand that forcing it will not make it happen faster. In fact, it might ruin it entirely. Life is the same way. Your desires are seeds you've planted in the fertile soil of your own imagination and intention. When you trust, you are giving them the space they need to grow without suffocating them with impatience. Struggle comes from the belief that if you let go, even for a moment, everything will fall apart. But the truth is, letting go is often the very thing that allows everything to fall into place. When you relax your grip, you give life the freedom to work on your behalf. You allow unseen connections to be made, doors to open without you banging on them, opportunities to find their way to you. The person who trusts can walk through the day with a lighter heart, knowing that they are not the only one working toward their dreams. You are under protection, safely, fairly, and concisely. You're honored, you're understood, you are understood. You're understood, you're not to be punished. You are not to be wronged. You are concealed. This does not mean you will never face challenges. Trust is not a guarantee that the path will be free of obstacles. But when you trust, you understand that even the obstacles are part of the arrangement, shaping you, strengthening you, and aligning you more deeply with the life you want. You stop seeing setbacks as punishments and start seeing them as adjustments, moments where life is quietly steering you towards something better than what you were aiming for. There is a calm power in believing that life is on your side. You can still make plans, set goals, and work toward them, but you do so without the frantic energy that drains you. You know that your actions matter, but you also know they are not the only force at play. Something larger, something wiser, is weaving the threads together. And because you trust this, you can move forward with grace instead of force. The luxury, the abundance, the ease you dream of, they respond far more to trust than to tension. When you trust, you carry yourself differently. You are not constantly scanning the horizon for signs because you already know the signs will come. You speak differently. Your words are not soaked in worry, but in assurance. And that assurance radiates outward, influencing the people you meet, the choices you make, and the opportunities you attract. Consider how different a conversation feels when you are relaxed versus when you are tense. In tension, you speak too quickly. You try to control the outcome. You grasp for the right words. But in relaxation, you listen. You respond naturally. You allow the exchange to flow. Trusting life is like having that kind of conversation with the universe. You stop trying to dominate it, and instead you allow it to speak to you as much as you speak to it. The truth is, what you want already wants you. The struggle comes from not believing that. If you truly believed it, you would not feel the need to strain every moment of the day. You would work, yes, but you would also rest. You would know that rest is not wasted time, but part of the process. You would let yourself enjoy the space between now and the arrival of what you desire, because you would understand that this space is not empty, it is alive with movement you cannot yet see. But trusting is a kind of invisible magnetism. It pulls things toward you because it signals to life that you are ready. When you are constantly in struggle, your energy says, I am not there yet. But when you trust, your energy says, I am already aligned. And life, in its subtle way, always matches the signal you send. The moment you shift from fear to trust, you'll notice a change. Not necessarily in the outer world right away, but in yourself. You will feel lighter, clearer, and more open. And from that openness, the life you want can finally reach you without having to break through the walls you once built from anxiety and doubt. The life with every luxury you dream of is not playing a game of hide and seek with you. It is standing just beyond the fog, waiting for the moment you trust enough to stop thrashing about and let the mist lift on its own. When it does, you'll see that it was never far away. It was simply waiting for the right moment to step forward. Anxiety is like a fog that blurs everything you are trying to see clearly. It convinces you that the life you want is far away, uncertain, and slipping through your fingers. You might tell yourself that worrying about it will somehow bring it closer, as if keeping it constantly in your mind will prevent it from disappearing. But anxiety doesn't pull your desires toward you. It pushes them away. It builds invisible walls between you and the very things you long for, because anxiety is the voice of distrust. It says, I don't believe this will happen unless I hold on tightly. Yet in holding so tightly, you crush the space where it could breathe and grow. When you are anxious, you are in a constant state of readiness for something to go wrong. Even if life tries to hand you something good, anxiety will make you doubt it, question it, or prepare for it to be taken away. And in this way, you can sabotage what is meant for you without even realizing. Opportunities may appear, but if you are too busy rehearsing disaster in your mind, you may not even recognize them for what they are. A door may open, but anxiety will whisper that it's not safe to walk through it. The truth is, the things meant for you require a space to land. That space is created by calm, openness, and trust. Anxiety fills that space with noise, with clutter, with frantic energy that makes it impossible for blessings to find a place to settle. Imagine inviting a guest into your home but leaving every surface piled with things, every chair blocked, every path obstructed. They may want to come in, but there is nowhere for them to sit. In the same way, the luxuries, opportunities, and peace you seek may be trying to enter your life, but anxiety leaves no room for them to rest. This is why letting go of anxiety is not a luxury. It is a necessity for receiving the life you want. The mind that is constantly worrying is like a pond whose surface is always rippling from the wind. You cannot see clearly into it, and it cannot reflect anything back in full clarity. But when the wind dies down and the water becomes still, everything is revealed. The depth, the beauty, and the treasures beneath. The same is true for your life. Stillness reveals what anxiety hides. It's not that life punishes anxiety. It's that anxiety and receiving simply do not occupy the same space. When you are in a state of anxiousness, your attention is fixed on what might go wrong. You feed energy into the possibility of loss instead of the certainty of gain. Life, which is always responding to the signals you send out, reflects back what you are focused on. The more you dwell on fear, the more you notice reasons to be afraid. The more you focus on trust, the more you notice reasons to be confident. Think of a person standing in a garden, waiting for flowers to bloom. If they are anxious, they will keep checking, pulling at the buds, worrying that they will never open. In doing so, they might damage them, or at the very least rob themselves of the joy of simply watching them unfold naturally. But if they stand back, tend to the soil, water the roots, and trust the process, the flowers will bloom in their own time. And when they do, the beauty will be complete. Anxiety tries to rush the bloom, but in rushing, it steals the perfection that comes with patience. The life you want is not resisting you. It is only waiting for you to stop resisting it with your restless mind. Every luxury you dream of, every comfort you can picture, is already aligned with you in ways you cannot fully see. The opportunities are moving, the right people are crossing paths, the conditions are shifting, all while you are here breathing, waiting, and sometimes doubting. Anxiety convinces you that you must be in constant motion to keep these things alive, but often the opposite is true. The more you still yourself, the more you allow life to work on your behalf without interference. When you release anxiety, you begin to notice things you missed before. You hear the quiet invitations life offers, a casual conversation that leads to an unexpected opportunity, a small idea that grows into something bigger than you imagined, a gentle nudge that says, "Go this way." Anxiety drowns out these whispers because it keeps your mind shouting over them. But peace allows you to hear them clearly. Letting go of anxiety is not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about recognizing that you don't need to control every detail for life to bring you what you need. The same force that turns a seed into a tree, that moves the tides, that spins the stars, is the same force guiding the unfolding of your life. It does not require your panic. It requires your cooperation. And cooperation often looks like quiet confidence rather than restless striving. You might wonder, but what if I relax and nothing happens? This is the trick of anxiety. It tries to convince you that your tension is the reason good things happen. But tension is not the reason for blessings. If anything, it delays them. Life does not reward you for worrying. It responds to the energy of trust. When you relax, you are not saying, "I give up." You are saying, "I believe enough to stop interfering." The irony is that when you let go of anxiety, the things you've been longing for often arrive faster. This is because your energy shifts from one of lack to one of readiness. It's like the difference between chasing a bird and letting it come to rest on your shoulder. The more you chase, the more it flies away. The more you stand still, calm and open, the more it feels safe to approach. Luxuries, peace, abundance, they are all like that bird. They respond to the space you create, not the chase you engage in. In time, you begin to see that anxiety was never protecting you. It was only keeping you from fully living. It was placing you in a state of constant waiting, as if happiness and fulfillment were always somewhere in the future. But when you release it, you realize they were waiting right outside the door, ready to step in the moment you allowed them. And when they do, it will not feel like they suddenly appeared. It will feel like they were always meant to be there, simply waiting for you to open the space for them to enter. Every luxury you have ever dreamed of already exists somewhere in the vast weave of life. The comfort of waking up without an alarm, the feeling of stepping into a space that reflects your taste and your soul, the ease of knowing every need is met before you even think to ask. These are not fantasies floating in some unreachable realm. They are real, tangible parts of the world you live in right now, woven into the possibilities that surround you. The idea that they are far away is only a story told by a mind trained to measure distance in struggle rather than in readiness. Life does not need to create these things from nothing. It already holds them in abundance, waiting for you to step into alignment with them. Alignment is not about chasing or grabbing at what you see. It is about shifting your own state so that you become the kind of person for whom these luxuries are a natural fit. It's like tuning a radio. When you set it to the right frequency, the music is already there, waiting to be heard. You don't force the music into existence. You simply adjust yourself until you can receive it. The life you imagine works in the same way. All the beauty, freedom, and richness you crave are on a frequency of their own. And the key is to bring yourself into harmony with it. This means understanding that you are not trying to build your dream from the ground up in a barren wasteland. You are stepping into a house that has already been built, furnished, and warmed for you. The walls are painted in the colors you love. The air smells like something that feels like home. And the windows open onto the kind of view that makes you feel at peace. The fact that you can imagine it so vividly is not an accident. It is a sign that it already exists somewhere, waiting for the moment you match it. When you think of life as having already prepared these luxuries for you, everything changes. You stop seeing yourself as a beggar hoping for scraps, and you start seeing yourself as a rightful heir to a kingdom that is already yours. There is no groveling in that state of mind, no desperate proving, no clawing your way to legitimacy. There is only the quiet certainty that you are moving toward something that has been moving toward you all along. And with that certainty comes a different way of living. You begin to choose in ways that reflect your readiness. You take better care of yourself. You surround yourself with beauty. Where you can, you make space in your life for what is coming, because you know it is already real. This is not about pretending to have something you don't. It is about understanding that the gap between you and your desires is not about existence, but about access. The life you want is like a train already running on its tracks. You may not be on it yet, but it's moving, and it's heading toward a station you can reach if you simply walk in the right direction. Too many people make the mistake of thinking they have to build the train themselves, lay the tracks, and fuel the engine. That is not your work. Your work is to find the station, buy the ticket with your attention and belief, and be ready to board. The strange thing is that when you believe these luxuries already exist for you, you start to treat the present moment differently. Instead of living in a constant state of lack, you live as though you are in the waiting room of something inevitable. And waiting no longer feels like suffering, it feels like anticipation. This shift in energy is powerful. When you move as though something good is certain, you naturally prepare for it. You clear out the clutter, physical, emotional, and mental, that doesn't fit with the life you are stepping into. You stop making choices that contradict your vision. You act in alignment, and in doing so, you draw the reality closer. It's important to understand that the readiness to receive is not just about material preparation, but about internal capacity. If life handed you every luxury tomorrow, but you still carried the mindset of scarcity, fear, or unworthiness, you would not be able to hold on to it. You might sabotage it, reject it, or live in constant fear of losing it. But when you understand that it has always been part of the plan for you to have it, you receive it differently. You hold it with peace rather than panic. You enjoy it without feeling guilty. You let it enrich you without letting it define you. There is a kind of quiet dignity in knowing that the things you desire have been patiently waiting for you to catch up to them. You do not rush anymore because you know nothing is slipping away. You do not feel envious of others who already have what you want, because their having it is proof that it exists and is attainable. You understand that their timing is theirs, and yours is yours. And this takes away the bitterness of comparison, replacing it with the sweetness of faith. When you start to live with this perspective, you see the world differently. You begin to notice signs that your life is already rearranging itself for the arrival of these luxuries. Small upgrades happen. A better opportunity appears. An unexpected resource comes into your hands. A chance meeting opens a door you didn't know existed. These are not random events. They are pieces of the larger arrangement moving into place so that when the fullness of your desire arrives, it fits seamlessly into your life. You realize, too, that life does not withhold from you to punish you. It waits because it wants you to be ready enough to keep and enjoy what it gives. A gift given too soon can be a burden. A gift given at the right time is a blessing. This is why there is no need to be anxious or resentful. If something you want is not yet in your hands, it is either because you are still preparing for it, or because something even better is making its way to you. And so you stop living as if your desires are somewhere out there in the fog, hoping you might stumble upon them by chance. You start living as though they are already set aside for you in a safe place, and the moment you are ready, they will arrive, not as strangers, but as long-awaited friends. And when they do, it will not feel like they suddenly appeared. It will feel like they were always yours, patiently waiting for you to open the door. Relaxation is not laziness, and it is not the absence of desire. It is the most powerful signal you can send to life that you are ready to receive. When you relax, you are telling the world, I trust you. I believe that what I need will arrive in its own time. That belief changes everything. It changes the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, the way you move through your day. You are no longer living in tension, constantly calculating how far you still have to go. You are living as though you are already on the path and the destination is inevitable. That shift is magnetic. Think about how people behave when they know they are about to welcome a dear friend into their home. They don't pace the floors in panic or keep checking the clock every second. They prepare calmly, light the candles, arrange the table, and maybe even sit for a quiet moment in anticipation. The preparation is part of the joy because they are certain the guest will arrive. That is the way you must treat the luxuries and the life you want. They are on their way. Your job is not to force them through the door, but to make your space ready for them to feel at home when they do. When you live in this way, each day becomes less about waiting and more about inhabiting the energy of the life you desire right now. You stop asking, when will it come? And start asking, how can I live beautifully today, knowing it's already mine? You find pleasure in small details, choosing to eat from your nicest plate instead of saving it for some future moment, wearing the clothes that make you feel your best instead of waiting for a special occasion, making your space as welcoming as the dream you hold in your heart. This is not pretense. It is alignment. You are showing life that you already value beauty, comfort, and ease, and in doing so, you are creating an environment where more of it can enter naturally. Relaxation opens your senses in a way anxiety never can. When you are tense, your focus narrows to the problem, the gap, the absence of what you want. You move through life as if you are bracing for impact, and in that state you miss the subtle signs that your desires are approaching. But when you are relaxed, you begin to notice them. You see the small improvements in your circumstances, the chance encounters, the opportunities that fit perfectly into your vision. Relaxation makes you receptive, and receptivity is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. It's important to understand that this kind of relaxation is not passive. It is deeply intentional. It is the decision to step into each day as though it already belongs to the life you envision. This means choosing to think thoughts that reflect abundance rather than lack, to speak words that affirm your readiness instead of your doubt, and to act in ways that mirror the person who already has what you are waiting for. This is not about pretending. It is about embodying. When you embody the calm assurance of someone who knows their desires are inevitable, you create a frequency that life cannot ignore. Imagine standing at the edge of a river, knowing the boat you've been waiting for is on its way. You cannot make it arrive faster by shouting or pacing along the shore. The boat moves at the pace it must, but you can prepare for it. You can ready your belongings, clear a place for it to dock, and watch the water for the first signs of its approach. This is what relaxation does. It gives you the patience and clarity to prepare without panic, to watch without desperation, and because your attention is calm, you notice the ripples in the water long before anyone else sees them. You sense the arrival of your life's luxuries because you are not clouded by frantic energy. Relaxation also sends a message to your own mind that you are safe. Much of the tension people live with comes from an unconscious belief that they are constantly on the verge of losing something or missing out. But when you relax, you teach yourself that there is no threat, that nothing meant for you can be stolen or delayed beyond the right time. This inner safety allows you to take risks, explore opportunities, and step into new situations without fear. Ironically, it is often in these moments of fearless openness that the very things you have been waiting for finally arrive. And when they do, you will be able to receive them fully. If you meet your dream life in a state of tension, you might be too distracted to enjoy it. You might question whether you deserve it, whether it will last, or whether it will be taken away. But if you meet it in a state of relaxation, you welcome it without suspicion. You enjoy it without guilt. You savor it with the quiet confidence of someone who knows it belongs to them. This is why relaxation is the truest invitation to the life you want. It says to the universe, I am here. I am open. I am ready. It doesn't beg. It doesn't demand. It simply creates the space where what you've been waiting for can finally land, and in that space something extraordinary happens. You realize that the life with every luxury was never about chasing something far away. It was about slowing down enough to let it find you. Step into your world and feel like it had been there all along.